What's up, everybody? We're here for another episode of Against.The.Galaxy, your favorite podcast, and we got all five of us here with us today, so we're gonna have some fun. I got Nicky.
What's up, guys?
I got Nick.
What's up, guys?
Fresh off getting his bye, I got Mike.
What's going on?
And for the first time in a while, we got Eric back with us.
Hey, everyone.
Reminder again, check out us on all of the social media platforms. Follow us, share us with your friends. Let everybody know when content drops. They can be the first to know. Checking out the Instagram, checking out the Twitter, or reaching out to any of us on Discord. I say it all the time. We're men of the people. If you guys got questions, send a message to one of us. More than happy to read it, answer it, talk about it. If you guys got anything you want to hear us talk about on the podcast, shoot us a message. Shoot us a message on Instagram or wherever, and we could talk about it next time. So we're going to go over some of our weekend plans. We've had some changes. I know last time we talked, we were saying that Nicky, Nick, and Mike were all headed to Hartford for the SCG. Mike has the qualification for the RC for Magic, so they were going to go with him, playing some of the Star Wars events. But you guys are going to switch it up now, huh?
Yeah, we're running a bit of an audible. We decided we were going to go to Rochester for the PQ, and we wanted to take another crack at getting Nick his bye. So that's what we're switching to this weekend.
Seems like a good plan. Their turnout's not quite as high as some of the other ones we've seen, right? Like so far registered is still pretty low.
Yeah, I think their cap was like 128 people, and the last time I looked, they had over 100 tickets left. So either people haven't bought their tickets because they saw there's so many left and are just going to walk in, or it's going to be a smaller field. So I guess we'll see on the day of, but if it's a smaller field, that's not necessarily a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I mean, even in a bigger field with some really good players, Nick still made top 8, had a really good run. I wouldn't be surprised to see him do that again. Nick, how are you feeling about the tournament?
Well, I was feeling pretty good until Nicky just beat my brakes off on our testing session here. Overall, I'm not worried about it. I think we'll go to Rochester. Hopefully, come back with a bye. Things will go smoothly. Looking forward to it. Really excited.
Do you know what you're looking at playing this weekend?
Oh, we're rocking our girl. We're playing Sabine again, most likely. Just deck I've been jamming for the last almost 3 weeks now. I'm really starting to get a hang of it, and my confidence in the deck is pretty high. So definitely good to have Nicky on the team. He's a pretty seasoned Kira player because that's a matchup that I will most definitely face in top 8. So it's good to get those reps in. And yeah, I'm feeling pretty prepared for this weekend.
I know you said you're definitely going to face Kira in top 8, which very likely to be true. That seems like it's one of the more popular decks. Which of these do you think you're going to see the most of? You think is going to be the most represented this weekend?
I'd have to say most likely Kira. We got Han for sure. Sabine, most likely. There's been a lot of Sabines. If you look at some of the data in the last couple of weeks, Sabine has the most top 8s, I think. And probably some Ray Data Vault. It's been catching some traction here. I think I have a pretty good matchup into it. We just go kind of faster than they can keep up with. So yeah, definitely Kira feels like the toughest matchup, or at least the closest in terms of margins here. Quinlan has been falling off a little bit in the meta. Sabine has a very good matchup into Quinlan. We kind of know what we're doing there, so not too worried about seeing a ton of Quinlan. And if we do, we know what the plan is, so not very worried about it. I would be worried about seeing some Cad Tarkentown. That deck has a very good matchup into Sabine. Played against it in my round 1 at the PQ in Connecticut a couple weekends ago. So, but it's been also kind of falling off. The Tarkentown meta is slowly shifting into the Data Vault meta. So we'll see. I definitely am looking for Han 1 and Kira to be represented, and then maybe some Ray coming up there.
I don't think Han 1's really a matchup you want to say either. I mean, obviously there's play lines to go through it, but those stolen AT hauler starts or the, Falcon with a R2 on it can be really brutal for you.
Yeah, those are going to be tough. I'm hoping to work with Will a little bit in the next couple days. I know he got some games off of Alex in top 8 and in Swiss at the sector in Richmond. So kind of want to pick his brain and see what kind of plays I have into that deck.
The get lucky line isn't always the most repeatable line, but it's definitely one that we kind of need into Han. Draw your masterpieces and cross your fingers.
Yeah, we'll need those for sure.
Looking at some of this data, we got top 8 results and we got win results. For top 8s, it looks like we got Sabine in first place with 15.8% of the top 8 so far. 41 copies have made it. Kira Datavault, not too far behind, 34 top 8s with a 13.1% meta share. Quinlan, the deck that we're saying is dead, might be a little bit less dead than we thought. Still consistently putting up results. It's actually the third highest ranking top 8 deck in the meta with 19 copies, 7.3%. And we got Han Green, the different versions of it. I know there's a couple different versions. You could see a more pilot-heavy versions, or you could see the Casino Han versions, but either way, that leader-based combination is looking like 16 copies in top 8, 6.2%. And then rounding out this top 5, we got Cad Tarkentan with 13 copies, 5% of the top 8s. Which of those numbers do you guys find the most surprising and I guess least surprising? I'll start out. Least surprising, Sabine. It's the best deck in the game right now. It should be the highest represented deck in the game right now. It just makes sense to me. Same with Kira, but then once we get down, I'm like kind of surprised how those decks were ranked.
I am kind of surprised about CAD. I've looked at some of the deck lists. I've played around with it a little bit. And I'm surprised that people did well with it. So that definitely, I feel, gives credit to the pilots. Because I don't think the deck is inherently strong. I think you can have very good lines. Like if Forlom survives and next turn you go Zuckus, that is very good. But over many games, I didn't find it very consistent. So definitely credit to these players that put the results with that deck, I feel.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's an inherently very powerful deck, and I'm surprised it's not even a little bit higher on the list. Like I think it should be in Quinlan's spot, not necessarily third. Like if I was power ranking these, quote unquote, it'd be Sabine, Kira, on then Cad. I think it goes better than Quinlan does. I think Quinlan's having a lot of trouble closing out those 33-point bases where Cad has bigger units and can go bigger later. With Kira, kind of match them blow for blow while also having some of the tricky stuff to deal with the early aggro from something like Sabine.
Quinlan is just super reactive right now in a meta that's still very open and supports a lot of different styles of deck. Like Sabine, Kira, and Han are all doing very different things that Quinlan has to be able to deal with and just can't. So if Quinlan runs into a deck that they're not particularly teched for that weekend, they're going to lose in top 8 and not see the success. So even though they're getting to top 8 at a high percentage, we see a very low conversion rate and only 2 in these 31 major tournaments. So I think that's the biggest problem facing Quinlan right now. How do I deal with the other 3 most prominent decks in the meta?
I think that's actually what puts Quinlan into a really bad spot. Is it's unfavored into at least 2 of the top 3 decks, and even the Han matchup is trending away from it. I mean, we've seen the switch since Richmond, where people were unsure if Quinlan was favored or if Sabine was favored, but I think now it's pretty clear that Sabine is favored in that matchup. I think Kira has always been favored into Quinlan. There's ways to make that matchup closer if they draw their discard and sequence it very well, but Kira is definitely favored there. And then the Han decks are the decks that they're supposed to be beating up with the discard. And I believe in recent tournament results, we've seen that matchup even trending away from it. But I could be wrong there. And it's like Quinlan plays very strong cards, but it's like if you have an unfavored matchup into the top 3, that's not really a deck you can play no matter how good your cards are.
Another thing I'm shocked at looking at here is Ray Datavault is not in the top 8 in terms of conversion percentage into top 8, but has 4 conversion wins. So a very high win rate as soon as they get into that top 8. As of right now, I don't know if that's just because it's a newer deck and people weren't as ready for it. It's obviously on our radar now. We've been facing it a good amount. I faced it once this past weekend at Rogue State. So it was a deck that I was tech for and ready for, but definitely when it came out 2 weeks ago with Leal and Pasquale, I think that was a good time to catch people off guard, but I think people have kind of caught on, and I think we'll see it kind of stagnate at that 4 wins for major tournaments and not see as many top 8s.
I think it might start making it to the top 8s just because top 8s are getting to, it's kind of like a counting stat at a certain point. And like you were saying, that deck really broke onto the seed, 2, maybe 3 weekends ago. So it just hasn't had the quantity of tournaments where people were seriously playing it. You might be right about people being more ready for it, so it won't be able to convert those at quite such a high rate. But I do expect the top 8 numbers to continue to climb. You know what I mean? Because we know some people have top 8'd with the deck and haven't made it, so there have to be at least a handful of top 8s already. And if that's only in a couple weekends, whereas these other decks have had 5-6 weeks, however many weeks we've had since post ban to really build counting stats, I think Ray can definitely catch up. One thing I wanted to make a note of, though, that I thought was really interesting, in most card games you see, it's the control deck that struggles into the open meta because they're not prepared for everything. And I just think it's interesting that Quinlan's in that spot now, where Quinlan, the tempo deck, is actually needs to be more teched than Kira, which just has the ability to, at least have a decent to medium matchup into everything. They're capable of being able to answer this super wide meta.
I think it's just because Kira plays a pile of good cards that it's able to answer a wide meta just by doing its own thing. Obviously, Kira is a control deck, so it needs to be able to react to your opponent, but no matter what my opponent does, Vader is going to be a good card, Overwhelming Barrage is going to be a good card, Vigilance is going to be a good card, Avenger is going to win games. It's whatever you throw at me, I have enough answers, and they're broad enough to just still put in the work.
And now that you're at an extra 10 cards in your deck, you're up to more 3-ofs than you were previously. So you're actually more likely to find those cards that are good in specific matchups and just resource the ones that aren't that good. And if you draw correctly, even though you have the 10 extra cards, which increases your variance, you can just steamroll somebody because you found the cards that were good in that matchup. You definitely have the non-games where you find your top end too much. You have your non-games where you find cards that are good into other matchups. But because this is a game without lands, this is a game where we're resourcing our playable cards, it leaves a lot of specialty cards that can go into your main deck that can kind of do a lot of work in these matchups.
Mike, you said something there that definitely piqued my ear. If you draw well, I feel that's very important. Can you teach us all how to draw well?
I can't teach you how to draw well, but in terms of preparing your deck for a tournament, you can only do so much preparation. You can put the cards in there that are good for matchups, but you really just need to run hot a weekend. You need to get the cards you need, and sometimes you flame out, you go 3-3, and that's all you can do. Sometimes you draw well and you can just absolutely crush a weekend. And I think that's the benefit that Kira has, is that when it does find its cards, the base health is very important, and it's able to just absolutely steamroll every deck in the format.
Yeah, having the extra space to go up to the 3-ofs does matter. When you had 2 out of 50 and now 3 out of 60, you actually do. You see those cards more often.
So, do you guys think the meta will shift based on this past weekend's results? So we see a lot of control decks taking tournaments. Kira, Ray, there's some Gar Saxon data vault, a lot of data vault. It's a big blue. You eventually go in redemptions. No,
It's
Ray.
playing Fleet Lieutenants.
Oh, Ray. No, Ray's definitely a mid-range you control deck. The Fleet Lieutenant act as Anakins, like we talked about like a couple weeks ago, where you're pumping up your guy to kill one of theirs quite a bit of the time.
Yeah, it's a removal spell. It's not a damage spell. So,
Yeah.
like, how are we gonna see? So, what beats control? Like faster aggro? Is Sabine? How would Sabine change the list to, take advantage of? Hey, there's gonna be more control. Do you go wider?
Do we just want to go super fast? Like, do we want to play Kylo or something? Like, the fastest of fast deck? Because we've even seen Sabine getting caught by Kira and by Rey sometimes, where it's just slightly not fast enough. And I still think those are either good or 50-50 matchups for Sabine. But, like, is Kylo actually, like, a valued place in the meta? I don't know. It's an interesting thought, at least.
The problem
Kylo's always just felt a little bit too much like a glass cannon, where like the aggro plan's okay, but if they stall you out at all, it's pretty tough. And now having to get to 33 as opposed to 25 mostly and 30 sometimes, I'm not sure that like a super all-in fast aggro deck has legs into this meta, but
Yeah, so I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think Sabine is the aggro deck of choice. If you're going to go aggro, you're going to go Sabine. How do you adapt to a meta that's going to be more controlling? Or is the meta going to be more aggressive because people are fighting versus these control decks?
I mean, you can start by putting the third Chewbacca in your main deck and switching out your Sindaris for fighters. Like that's, I think, the low-hanging fruit of.
I mean, I didn't get the memo that we changed the list, so.
you didn't listen to the podcast?
You didn't look at the team group chat?
It's not the third Chewbacca. I'm pretty confident.
It's definitely the fighters. Fighters go in there. I see that with the Ray and the village people.
I'm actually like right on the border of taking the third Chewbacca out of the sideboard because I just don't even feel good. I have to board it in when I play against Kira, but like I just feel like I end up pigeonholed into lines that just are easily blown out, and it's kind of frustrating. Like if you don't have the initiative, you put a ship down, they're probably just going to kill it, and now the Chewbacca looks dumb in your hand. If they don't kill it and you do get the Chewbacca on it, they can still traitorous it in a turn because they're going to ramp then. Now all of a sudden you got one hit in and they've got a giant ship with a Chewbacca on it. I mean, sometimes you have to make them have it, but I just feel like there's a lot of lines. And that's the Kira decks that aren't playing entrenched or the Ray decks that aren't playing entrenched. Like that's another way to just get super blown out on it. I think the point that we said earlier, going wide is definitely good. You just have to be careful because if you go wide into the Kira flip, like you set yourself up for the Kira flip to just get so much value to where like an OB is really going to clean up your board.
So you don't want to go tall and you don't want to go wide. So
I'm saying you have to be careful with going wide. You have to play stuff like Fleet Lieutenant that's giving you value and force them to trade stuff. Don't open the door to get blown out, basically.
That's
try real hard to play around.
That's a great strategy. Don't get blown out.
It's up there with the draw well.
Draw well, don't get blown out. Against the Galaxy tips for you all to do well at your next PQ.
Putting yourself in a position where their common answers have a lower impact on your board is a good spot to be in. So it's just being conscious of what their plan is going to be against you, what their best things are, and like finding ways to mitigate that is really useful. Sabine's not necessarily just a like aggro deck where you put a club in something's hand and start beating somebody over the head with it. Like there is quite a bit of nuance, and there's a deck like Kira that has ways to punish basically any of the lines that we take. So it's important to be careful with which lines you take.
You know,
sometimes they're just going to have the perfect answer, but try to read them a little bit.
You know, going space seems to be the plan against Kira for Sabine right now. Maybe we just play 15 swarming Vulture droids.
Please no.
Dude, when I get to devastating gunship those, I am going to be salivating.
It'll still be a little bit fun, yeah. But gunship just kills one, right? Am I just wrong about that? Is it gonna kill them all?
No.
All right.
But like more 2 toughness guys, please.
Yeah, devastating gunship is definitely one of those cards that can really do work in the matchup because it does feel like Kira is kind of weak into space, and that is not a weak card in space. It's one way that they can shore it up super quick. Like they take something out and now they just have a massive threat. Probably gonna throw a shield on it, make it even bigger, and that random draft chaff really showed up.
Here's a better question. Do we just play a third wing leader? Like I know it's a card that we've considered cutting in the past, and we're on 2 right now, but if we do have the initiative and we are afraid of this like traitorous line, we at least have a ship that sticks around. We can get some extra damage off of it as well. Like if they traitorous it, we at least get to jam the ship in. And then our ground plan is free on the 5 resource turn, besides the Kira flip. So, I mean, cards that have been performing well for me in the matchup have been like Heroic Sack. That's another option that we could put in the main deck to kill a Kira as soon as it flips. Right now, a lot of our units don't have 4 power. Kind of 3 powers our baseline up until that flip turn. Like if they don't ramp, obviously we can put a K2 in play. And obviously if it's on the turn 5, we can put a Poe that gets ECL'd into play. But besides that, we don't have a lot of play. So buffing the power of a guy or lieutenanting a guy in is a way to fight the OBs.
Yeah, I really like Fleet Lieutenant in the matchup because of that reason. And I mean, Heroic Sack definitely can do some really big things. I like it for more reasons than just killing Kira on the flip. Like they often can answer your stuff. So being able to like push 2 damage in, draw a card, and kind of strand the card in their hand, make them do something different, change their plan, it can be kind of good. Stuff sticking around. If stuff's living, you're probably like you were going to be so far ahead in that game that it didn't even matter. So, but you don't waste creatures with the Heroic Sack, and you do things like either trade into the Kira flip or push that extra damage that you weren't going to be able to. It's a very good card.
I wouldn't mind trying those this weekend, to be honest. I know a couple weekends ago we had talked about it, Will. I know there was someone that had looked to play them in their main deck. I don't know if it was at Lille or if it was in some other PQ house. You told me someone reached out to you, but I mean, it's definitely worth considering if it's going to, make the Kira matchup even slightly better.
Yeah, I didn't really think of it as a main deck card at most any point in Sabine's history, but I think that might just be like a bias, and I might just be wrong. And like if we're expecting like the high density of Kira, like having access to some number of Heroic Sacks in the main is probably pretty good. One card I've really liked is the Adelphi Patrol Fighter. That while you don't always get the buff, just getting those extra actions and like putting more stuff onto the battlefield for them to deal with is pretty good. I think that comes at like a pretty critical turn. And like we were saying, it's pretty Kira's relatively weak into space, so big ship is good.
I mean, if we're thinking about, if you don't like the Chewbacca lines, like, we could just cut the Chewbaccas for 2 Heroic Sacks.
I think that's super interesting, but like I'm not quite at that point where with Chewbacca, it's like Darksaber. Honestly, I have these feelings about Darksaber all the time, where like I'm just opening myself up to like this game swinging in a direction that a game that I was winning, all of a sudden now I'm not, because they just happen to be main decking disabling Fang fighters, and my entire flip turn was putting this Saber on the Sabine. But sometimes forcing them to have it and just running away with a game that they don't is still worth it. And I think kind of gauging your opponent and trying to predict when that's going to be good and when it's not is useful enough that I do still want access. Plus, I like Chewbacca just as a 5 resource play a lot of times against Kira. Like, you just put something big in play that they're going to have trouble dealing with. They still have plenty of answers for it, but it's going to be a stickier card than a lot of our other relatively big stuff.
I mean, I think trading a Battlefield Marine with a Heroic Sack feels kind of better than having to burn my ECL on like a K2SO, but I would have to test it and see really how it feels,
Yeah, for sure. Especially like post flip. Like if you don't immediately deal with that Kira, it's gonna overwhelming barrage your board, and a lot of these creatures that we're talking about trading into it weren't gonna survive if we didn't. So it's not really so much that you're giving up the creature as much as just accepting what the reality of the situation.
I mean, the grit is the biggest problem. We have nothing with 4 power in play, so Kira doesn't have to die as soon as it attacks one of our units. And usually it's attacking something that is 3 power and then becomes a 7/1. So it is the best OB target in the world and can wipe your entire board. So I really think that's the biggest question that needs to be answered. As soon as Kira flips, how am I going to deal with it? Is it ECL K2? Is it Heroic Sack? Do you play open fires? Do you have the Fleet Lieutenant? Like, is there something, you need to have something as soon as the Kira flips or as soon as there's a sticky unit in play to remove it so you don't get OB'd and blown out.
Yeah, one card I was like heavily considering, like in that third Chewy spot, was the third Heroic Sack. I was actually sleeved up and ready to go with 3 Heroic Sacks as we were driving down, but I was convinced otherwise in the car ride. But I'm still not sure which one was correct. Like I said, I feel like I'm reluctantly boarding in that Chewbacca every time, but he's still, I mean, you're not going to not bring it in against Kira when you have it, so.
You were also thinking about the Donnas to have like a 4 power unit in addition to K2 to ECL. That ever come?
Yeah, it was a thought. We tested it a little bit. It does some stuff, and I like it more than open fire as far as just like having extra answers, because it's a card that does other things. And at the end of the day, like, it does still do the job, quote unquote, but it wasn't quite strong enough. Actually, Dodonna does kind of make some of the Kira math a little awkward because of the way Kira rounds. Like, now all of a sudden giving all your guys +1/+1 means that Kira does an extra damage to your 3/3s. So they don't actually get better, but if you play it after the flip, then it's a little bit better. But still, it didn't end up helping the matchups that I felt like we were weak into. Or not even weak into, but just the matchups that we really wanted to like narrow in on. And it improved matchups that we were already like in relatively good shape. It's good when your stuff's living, and in the matchups that our stuff's living, like I have trouble losing those games regardless of which opponent it happens to be.
To switch sides, how about Kira? What would be Kira's like fear matchup and how you would make it better?
I'm not sure I really have a matchup that I'm deathly afraid of. Right now, I think I'm looking at edging towards the mirror and stealing some tech from Wu and playing the restock this weekend. The mirror has become a bit more toxic this set than it was when it was ECL previously, and it's kind of starting to move in the direction of fatigue. Previously, like, restock vigilance wasn't really the game plan. It was just you're going to hit each other with big ships eventually. But now that there's 33 health, there's no ECL, everyone's playing the third vigilance, playing so much like good removal that we're just running each other out of threats and vigilancing each other out. So I do think I will be playing the restock this weekend and possibly another on the board, but that's yet to be seen. But that's kind of what I'm looking to hedge Kira towards.
Do you think Kiras are gonna adopt what the harder controls decks do and like splash in yellow for like Bazine and Bounty Hunter, whatever it's called?
I think that's a little bit too far. At the end of the day, we're still a deck full of good cards, and playing Bazine for 4 or smuggling it for 6 or playing Bounty Hunter Crew for 8 doesn't really feel like something I want to be doing. If we said maybe, do you want to play a tech? I could consider playing a tech. I've tried it in the past, and I haven't been a huge fan of it, but I'm always willing to try that card again if we start talking about moving towards fatigue. But I really think just playing the one restock, maybe the second in the board, is going to be enough to at least hedge for that matchup a little bit. If you feel like you're comfortable into the matchup, a little bit of a hedge should be good enough for you.
Well, if you decide you want to play tech, you have a hero card in your deck, maybe then you could consider playing the new Anakin. Anakin Skywalker, you got a 6 cost vigilance unit, 5/7, Force Jedi Republic. When played, if you have a hero card in your discard, you can give a unit -3/-3, and you can get the same ability when played if you have a villain card in your discard. Kind of like a mini Luke Skywalker. Like it always gives you the -3/-3, but if you are playing some off aspect cards, then maybe you get -6/-6 on a unit, or if there's 2 units to spread the -3/-3 to. I don't know. What do you guys think about this card? I think it's interesting.
I think it's better.
Luke Skywalker at home.
I think it's better than Luke Skywalker.
That's hot. That is a hot take.
That is wild.
Being able to spread the -3/-3 to 2 different targets is more valuable than the -6/-6. It's very hard to trigger.
How often are you going to be able to do that?
That's never going to happen.
Both of them are very situational. It's hard to get a unit off the battlefield where then you want to play the -6/-6, because usually you're trading your 3-power unit into something that has 6 toughness just to get it to die, and then you play your Luke, and then you give it -6/-6, and it dies anyway. If you can find a deck that can take advantage of discarding hero and villain cards at the same time, Anakin Skywalker will be a better Luke Skywalker in those decks, 100%.
I mean, the only card deck right now that would remotely use this card is Palpatine Blue. And Palpatine, I mean Cunning Palpatine that flips into Sidious. Like, you're never going to be able to use both abilities, like, unless with serious deck constrictions.
We're talking about using Tech and Kira. I mean, there is going to be some opportunities for this. Maybe you jam some hero or some villain cards in a Han 1 blue or something like that and just defeat them as resources. Just treat them as like, oh, this card is always going to be a resource and always into my discard pile.
I think that's the best.
I still think this card's bad.
Calling
Like,
this card,
it's a 6-mana 5/7.
Calling this card bad is absurd.
it's definitely not a bad card. I mean, it just does the Luke
All right.
Skywalker first thing. It can kill a unit with its ETB. Like, that's one of the most important things you could do in the game.
The most terrifying thing about Luke, I mean, again, this is from a Sabine's perspective, but like that Restore 3 is so big. And also that 6 power is super relevant. We've seen with Vader ambushing into stuff. He needs to find a Death Trooper to finish killing it. 5 power doesn't always kill the things you need to kill. And Luke's 6 power kills a lot more. You know, it kills a Poe, it kills a Wrecker, it kills most of the things it needs to.
It trades with
Whereas
all.
this is still going to come out a little bit short.
I think the advantage that Anakin has here over Luke is that you can ECL it into play and kill an 8 toughness thing if you need to.
That's definitely true. This is a much better card in an ACL deck.
I think blue-green ECL just can't exist because those colors aren't aggressive enough to build that shell. Obviously, ECL can't go anywhere because Sabine can't go anywhere. The deck's always going to be good, but I'm not sure blue-green hero, or I guess this is neutral, so blue-green villain is really going to be an ECL deck going forward. I think Data Vault has really taken over, but maybe if we get more ECL targets like this next set, things could trend back, but I guess that's my take on it.
On an empty board, you can't put this down and instill quite as much fear as you do when you put a Luke out. I think that inherent power level is like a huge gap. It is one more resource, but like the extra power and that restore is a pretty big deal.
I think good 6 resource cards, playable 6 cost cards are not at a premium right now. I think this fills a very important spot on the curve. There's a bunch of very playable 7 cost cards. There's a bunch of very playable 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. But out of a deck like Kira Dataval right now, like the best thing you can do with 6 resources is just overpay for Vigilance. So I think if this deck if this card is going to slot into a deck, it will be something that can take advantage of both of those abilities. I think if it doesn't do that, it's okay. I think if it does do that, it's one of the best 6-drop cards we've seen.
I'm very
in heroic,
excited.
I'd still probably rather be playing Obi-Wan.
I mean, if you can take advantage of both abilities, like being able to do both -2, -3 is insane. But I
Who's ever
think that's
doing
going to be
that,
rare. Yeah, it's going to be very rare.
There's not a deck that right now that's built to do it, but I think with a little bit of deck building ingenuity, you can build a deck that can figure out a way to put hero and villain cards into your discard. I don't think that's a very hard thing to on.
I think if
on
we're
the
like
surface level.
building X in Magical Christmas Land, this is obviously a powerful card. But I think like the realistic expectation for this card is it's a 5/7 for 6 that gives something -3/-3.
I mean, I'm pick wanting pack 1 in a draft for sure.
For
It
sure.
is good.
Magical,
Maybe that's where they'll take advantage of both. You can definitely go splashing villain or hero there. So maybe it's a limited card.
Unfortunately,
Limited bomb
they're
confirmed.
competitive limited at Worlds.
No limited at Worlds?
Well, not any
He's
competitive.
playing
for
side
it.
events already. Don't mind him.
Yeah, after he won 3 drops, he can go play as many side events and pick one pack one Anakin as he wants.
We're gonna do all this work to get him his buy, and then all of a sudden he's gonna O2 drop day 2 of Worlds. It's gonna be so rough.
I mean, people go to local shops, man. I go play at my local shop and drafts there. I think it's good to know that it's a bomb.
Yeah, this is true, but I think when thinking of set 5 cards, my headspace automatically goes to what am I doing at Galactics, because that's just the most important thing that we're going to see come set 5.
Yeah, I mean it's the most important thing on the calendar, right? Like we'll be talking about this until Galactics, and then we'll start thinking about next Galactics and how we're gonna make our way there.
I couldn't imagine they'll introduce a limited portion of it in the future. If they've done it with Magic before, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly be happy to go play a sealed PQ or a sealed sector even. Like, it would be a good time. I've played limited Grand Prix in Magic, and they are some of my favorite. It really evens the playing field. But in a game like this where the cards are actually really accessible, I don't know necessarily that level of evening the playing field is necessary.
And the next card we have here is Doom.
It's just Doom. There's no need to mispronounce it.
Doom,
Just do.
doomy, 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 doo.
Just start over. We don't need to sound stupid.
Oh God, leave it in.
All right, so the next card we have here is Doom. I mean, double vigilance. Card seems fine in a double vigilance deck, like a double, like a
Start
Ray
over. You gotta
Colossus.
read the card.
Oh wait, I'm not
Start
fucking
over, you
reading.
gotta read
No,
the card.
come on, come on, dude. People can read.
I'll do it.
All right, you do it.
I'll read the fucking card.
I'll fucking do it.
I'm not
Okay.
reading that.
All right, well, the other card we have here is Doom. Looks like 4 cost, double vigilance, 2/7, force creature. When the regroup phase starts, give an experience token to each other friendly non-vehicle unit. This card seems pretty good. I mean, I'm not sure how wide or aggressive a double vigilance deck will go, but I mean, if you want to play double vigilance Kanan, it probably is pretty good. What do you guys think?
Gar Saxon. Put this card in double blue Gar Saxon.
I've been saying Vigilance for 4 is so good.
It is really good.
I like Gar. Gar Yellow apparently is the flavor of Gar that people play. I've still yet to encounter it in the wild, but I see it show up on the stats page. I like Gar as an aggressive leader. I think that going wide, shielding up guys is actually super powerful. I haven't put, enough time in to really put something together that I would feel comfortable playing, but at the same time, this card might be one of those things that pushes it over the edge. Just having that huge toughness and being able to put experience on everything, like experience or upgrades, like that's a big advantage. If you have some way to go super wide in that deck, you can start getting really far ahead really fast.
This is a card I've put less thought into. Obviously, it looks like a great double vigilance card. I think the most important part of the card is the 2/7 stat line, as you were saying. If we play this on turn 4, we know it's not going to get takedown or fell the dragon. And then, in theory, we have another unit in play because our deck needs to be built with a go white strategy, so it will also not get power to the dark side. So this is something that is going to be very hard to remove on that 4 resource turn. So I think if there's a playable home for it, it will be in only a double blue deck. I don't think this is a creature that you can play off aspect for 6. That just seems a little bit too much, and gives your opponent a little bit too much time to catch up and control the board.
I think hot take, you could play this for 6. That 7 toughness is a big deal. We see leaders flip at that point, and it's actually like a point to, all right, I need to find a way to deal with a 7 toughness leader when they flip. And there are limited answers. Just dealing that 7th point of damage to something to immediately kill it is pretty tricky. And like you're saying, it dodges things like take down and fell the dragon, so blue control is going to have limited options to deal with it regardless of when it comes down. And it's possible that you've, built out a much wider board before that point, and now just, playing 6 and passing, getting to the end step and getting an anthem on everything is still pretty good.
The more you pay for this card, the closer you move towards Super Laser Blast territory, though. And obviously that is a card that this deck does not want to see, no matter what it looks like. If you're building a wide board to make this card good, Super Laser Blast is going to eat your lunch.
If you want to go wide strategy that ends with a 6-drop, why not play Rex Unity of Purpose and end the game on 6 resources? As opposed to, okay, I want to kind of go wide, play a Doom, put a counter on everything on the next turn, and then hope I'm not dead because my villain opponent didn't ramp and now has Super Laser Blast. That just seems a lot riskier than just kind of going for it with a Unity.
That's definitely true. If you pay 6 and they've ramped, you are just walking right into getting all your counters on your guy and then getting blasted. But if you played Chewy on 5, counter would stick.
You're such a Chewbacca hater, dude. There's no way you just said play Chewbacca on 5, play Doom on 6, and now their blast only kills your Doom. Like, what?
I think that might be the tech.
Yeah, we got him. You know what? Let's just play this in Sabine for 8. Play our Chewbacca, and then play our Doom. So when they blast us, we still have our Chewbacca. Sounds good.
I mean, it's got 7 toughness.
So we like Doom for 6, but Anakin Skywalker that might be able to kill 2 things at 6, no good with an extra 3 power.
Anakin Skywalker is never killing 2 things.
Oh my gosh! Yes, it is.
That's flavor text. It's flavor
It's
text.
not flavor. You're getting 1. You're definitely getting 1.
You're definitely getting 1. I agree.
If you
definitely
ECL, you're getting 2, I guess.
That's not true. I mean,
No, you say kill with the attack and then kill with the...
I get that, but you're not getting both one play. Like, in terms of Will saying it's flavor text, it's not flavor text. You definitely get 1. It definitely says when played, give a unit -3/-3.
Yeah, I don't think he's arguing about
flexible
that.
in that there's 2 different options, but the second one is always flavor text. In your hero deck, the villain line is flavor text. In your villain decks, the hero line is flavor text. Like, it's the General Grievous thing all over again. They put it on the card because it's like, ooh, Anakin, good and bad. I get it. But really, it's not something that's going to come up in games.
Putting 4 lightsabers on a General Grievous is significantly harder than having to discard a different aspect card at some point in the game, or playing an off aspect card that's now in your graveyard.
I mean, we're rating the difficulties of flavor text here. I think they both kind of serve the same purpose. I agree with you. The Grievous thing is harder to pull off, but also a higher upside.
There's a higher upside to sticking 4. Oh my god, there's no way you just said that.
There's not a higher upside to having 4 lightsabers on a Grievous?
Yes, you just get power of you're just dead. Like, Grievous is just dead. There's no deck in the game that will allow Grievous to get 4 lightsabers on it. If that is your game plan, you should probably find another hobby or play Twin Suns. That is
No, but
those are your 2 options. If you want to put 4 lightsabers on a Grievous, play Twin Suns, go have fun. Nope, all the power to you. Go have a great time. In terms of competitive viability, it is a lot easier to, one, put a different aspect card in the graveyard, and two, just play the card and get the benefit of it anyway. It's not doing nothing. This card does not just be a 6-mana 5/7.
I mean, Channel Grievous is a 3-mana 4/4. Like, it's already a good card. It just has flavor text on it. Like, I agree, Anakin is a good card. Playing a 5/7 for 6 that kills something small is still a good card. Just, I don't think that the intent of this card is to try to find some wacky brew that is just playing cards that you're never going to play just for the sake of discarding them.
I'm bringing Chancellor Palpatine to the first week of locals, and you're going to eat your words.
I mean,
Bring
like,
Chancellor Palpatine to Worlds and I'll eat my words.
so
We ain't doing that.
there's going to be a lot of force units. Say you could splash Force Light. That's a off-color card that would go in discard pile. So I think it may not be as hard as we're making it sound to have both heroic and villain in the discard pile. There's going to be deck restrictions, limitations, but I don't know. Let's see, maybe cards that come out, we'll see more things where it'd be maybe worth splashing offsuit stuff.
How many villainy cards are you willing to put in a 50 or 60 card deck just so that you could make this work? And then, how much did you ruin your deck by doing that?
I mean, if
How many
it's just
cards are you
this,
playing way off?
if it's just this, sure. But what if there's like cards that with both, like maybe another Asajj Ventress that sides or whatever. If now you're looking at several cards that you get a pretty big benefit by having these limitations to your deck, maybe it's worth it. Like if you look at Data Vault, 80% of the top decks are playing Data Vault, and there's a big drawback for playing those 10 extra cards. But you find ways to mitigate it and make it better. So I don't know. Maybe Mike's onto something. I think as it stands right now, like you get -3/-3. You're not getting 2 -3/-3s, but we'll see.
Will, how do we feel about playing Metal Ceremony in a villain deck?
So they can force throw it.
I mean, it's still good against Quinlan.
You're going to force throw it, and then you're going to play your Anakin, and they're going to feel real stupid when you kill their Plo Koon.
Wait. That's a great point. I mean, we're going into a force throw meta. People are going to just make us discard our cards. I'm playing a
I mean,
villain
a great
deck.
point is maybe
Pitch my Metal Ceremony. Cool. Give your guy -6/-6. That was really fun.
Pitch your Kylo TIE Fighter. Maybe you can even play it for 4.
I do think we are getting into the force throw meta, but I don't think we're quite into I'm going to build my deck in a way that like I'm going to have these cards ready for when they discard them quite yet.
I think we've seen a lot of force units, and we're going to have to see what the rest of the set looks like.
You put Metal Ceremony in your deck at Richmond because you were afraid of force throw. And there was one deck
But
playing
it was also it was also good into like Sabine. Like it also had other uses. I feel like putting cards just to discard, like they need to have other uses.
They're resources. They fit nicely in your resource row.
Everything's a resource. That's not what we're talking about. I mean, like the card has to come up at least once in a while as a card that I could cast or would cast, and it would be good before I'm willing to put it into the deck. The flexibility of being good against the Quinlan stuff like Force Throw and Ahsoka was definitely something that I considered and a big reason why I leaned towards it. But sometimes you just put counters on your guys and it's good. I don't think a villain deck can really do that.
Time will tell. Time will tell with these cards. It'll be interesting to see what people come up with. Alrighty, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Against the Galaxy. Make sure to do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, share for more. And we'll be back with you next week for another episode of Against the Galaxy. Have a great day.